I have been using this chopping board extensively for like 7-8 years. And it's starting to show its age a little bit. But the massive advantage of using a wooden chopping board is that if you take care of it, if you maintain it, and if you go through the process that we're going to go through today, you can make this chopping board last for a lifetime. So our goal for today is to remove all of these scratches from the surface of it, to give it a good oiling, a good conditioning, and hopefully bring this back to its former glory. At the end of the video, I'll also leave a couple of tips on just like regular use and maintenance of a chopping board. Feel free to use the chapter cards at the bottom to get straight to that. But I digress. Let us jump straight into restoring this bad boy. Okay, so the very first step towards restoring your chopping board is starting by giving it a really good scrub with hot soapy water. Rinse it off really well and leave it to dry overnight. And that step I have already done. This should remove a bunch of the sort of like inherent odors that your board has and just like set it up for this next part. Okay, next part. And this is optional. So here I have some low grit sandpaper. There's about 180. It was all I could find in the house. I've seen people online recommend like 220, but this is like close enough. And what I aim to do with the sandpaper is to just buff out any of these like little scratches. There are some which are a bit deeper, and just like smoothen up the edge of the board, make it look nicer, make it look better. I've only ever done this on like not split up grain chopping boards, and the recommendation is to like follow the grain. So let's just try this out. Yeah, we're just going to take off all of this like layer on the outside. Much better. Sorry, I've kind of gone non-verbal for this, but this is actually really satisfying. Okay, we have sanded this down nicely. It doesn't need to be like baby's butt smooth. I just wanted to like buff out any of the like deeper scratches and smooth out the edges just a little bit. Now I'm just going to take a damp cloth and wipe it really well. Get off all of this excess dustiness. Oof, and this already looks much better. Okay. Now that we've sanded everything down, it means that the sort of grain of the wood is a lot more open to absorbing water. And even though we just washed it with like a damp towel, this thing's pretty damp. So at this point, I'm literally just going to take my board, I'm going to set it aside, and I'll come back in a couple hours. Okay, so we've got our chopping board back. It is nice and smooth and nice and dry. And now we are going to oil this bad boy. Now, if your chopping board isn't super damaged, but still looks a little bit worn, this is probably the only step that you need, just a really good oiling session. And because the board needs to be saturated quite well, I am going to set down some baking paper so that I don't make a mess of everything. And this is a great reason to use my comically large roll of baking paper. Wow. So I actually got these as a Christmas present. The brand is Furniture Clinic Cutting Board Oil, and it's basically just a mineral oil that you want to rub into the pores of your chopping board and just really saturate it nice and well. It's going to absorb some of these oils, it's going to make a nice waterproof layer on the outside of the board, gives it a really nice shine, gives it a really nice finish. Take a cloth, I'm going to apply a bunch of oil. Ooh. Just give this, ooh. Ooh, that feels nice. Okay, we've just finished oiling up the board. It looks fantastic. It looks really good. And now the recommended move here is to let it soak in the soil for a good couple hours. If you can afford overnight, that would be super. I got shit to do. So I am going to come back to this in like 4 or 5 hours, see how much of the oil has been soaked in. It says to keep it like really well like saturated with oil. I think I used maybe 1/3 to half of the bottle, and it soaks it up really nicely, really good. And I'm also leaving this like lint-free cloth in contact with it so that any oil that was left on the surface of that is going to get sucked into the pores of this board. And now, both for cleanup and preventing my cats from getting this, I can just wrap it up The baking paper is not a recommended step. This is just my neuroses. So yeah, we're gonna leave this soak for a good couple hours and we'll come back for the last step, which is going to be the conditioning of this. Catch you in a second. So it is actually the day after. I thought I would do this right and just let it soak overnight, just let all that oil get nice and absorbed. And so let's take a look at it. I'm gonna go get it. I haven't seen it yet, so we're gonna take a look at this for the first time together. Be right back. Okay, let's take a look at this bad boy. Okay. It feels so much better. Okay, so at this stage it looks way, way shinier. It looks really, really nice. It has soaked in beautifully. And I'm just gonna try wipe off any excess oil so it doesn't feel like weird and greasy. But this is great. Okay, now that we have smoothed over this board and it is not like super sticky and oily and gross, it actually feels like really nice and beautiful. It actually turned out great. We are going to hit it with a little bit of cutting board conditioner. Now this technically has a little bit of wax inside of it, and this should give us like a really nice, smooth, waterproof finish. This is like extra credit for really maintaining and like preventing your board from warping over time. And a couple hours later, here we have our finished board. She's looking beautiful, she's looking nice and shiny, looking sleek. I'm quite confident that this is gonna hold for like a little while. Like I said, I hadn't treated this, or like I bought this like 7-8 years ago and never actually treated it, so this is the first time. If I had to do anything different, I might add slightly less oil in the beginning. I might just apply it with my hand. I've seen some videos online of people just like rubbing it in casually, and I feel like the linen cloth kind of absorbed a lot of that oil. That just isn't necessary. But no, other than that, I'm very, very happy. Love how this turned out. I hope you learned something. If you want some general tips for just like how to keep this like maintained, we can cut to it right now. Thanks, I'll catch you in the next one. I just want to take a moment to discuss some really quick fire chopping board tips for like use and maintenance to get the longest, best lifespan out of them and the cleanest chopping boards. Now, what I would recommend whenever you are chopping on a chopping board, if you're done with all of your food prep and you put it next to the sink, wash it immediately. It won't hold on to the aromas as much. If you actually leave the board in the sink and there's like water or it's soaking in water, the board is going to warp. So just wash it with hot soapy water and ideally dry it off straight away. If you can't dry it off straight away, I like to leave my boards drying vertically. So something like this as opposed to like this. If it's flat, it's going to soak in a bunch of water from the bottom, and that again could lead to warping, could lead to like mold issues, to microbial growth, etc, etc. Now, big no-no, never, ever, especially wooden chopping boards, never put them inside the dishwasher. They will warp. I've had wooden chopping boards just like split apart on me, and yeah, you just don't want to do that. And for those of you who are saying like, oh, wooden chopping boards, they're way more hassle than they're worth, they are personally my favorite type of chopping board. There's like one Japanese brand plastic chopping board, I'll link it in the description if an affiliate link is available, that I think is super. A lot of other plastic chopping boards, they like scratch, they warp, they're just, I don't love them. Wood has natural Some woods have like natural antimicrobial, antibacterial goodness inside of them. I'm not an expert, don't listen to me. And yeah, if you take care of them, if you maintain them in the same way that I've shown you in this video, they will last you a lifetime. That and they look so much better than their plastic counterparts. Also, if you're the type of person who's like, oh, what about glass chopping boards or metal chopping boards? No, bad, no. You screw up your knife, they're not comfortable to cut on, they sound terrible, horrible, they feel horrible, just don't. Wood's for me. And that just about wraps up our video for today. I hope you found something useful inside of this. If you enjoy the content and would like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe. And if you really enjoyed the video, you could maybe watch this video right here. That would be great. I would really appreciate that. You could make my day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.